Okay, so the first thing that we're going to go over is the Market Finder. The Market Finder helps you really understand everything from a market analysis perspective. A lot of times when I see investors doing their marketing, they absolutely have no idea what's going on in their market, or they have like a general vague idea of it. And the whole point of this tool is it really validates all of the different elements of your market and where you should be focusing your efforts at the nationwide, the state, the county, the zip code, and the neighborhood level. You would do this by first hopping in. This is the nationwide view. These are all the different ways that you can actually go in and sort to see what's going on in your market. The darker it is, the higher one of these numbers are. We're going to focus primarily on investor transactions, but you can also look at homes that are sold, median sale prices, homes on market, and days on market. You can use this to get an understanding of like the supply and demand of your area, how many transactions are going to investors, or just how active your market is in general. We're going to hop into my market, that way I can show you guys all the different areas and the tools here. So first, I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee. So we're always going to click on the state that we're here first, and then go deeper into the county level. And you can see that there's always going to be a map view and then a table view of whatever you have selected. So I have investor transactions here, and I'm obviously looking at the county level, and this will always be sorted from the greatest to least as far as the investor transaction volume goes. So Shelby, Tennessee, which is Memphis, Tennessee, is always going to be the highest here. Then we go to Nashville, and then Knoxville's right here. You can always choose to actually click inside here, just like this, or you could search it up here inside of the counties tab. Now, the two big things that from this point are the zip codes and the actual neighborhoods that are tied in. If you are in a bigger market, it's usually easier to navigate this at the zip code level versus the neighborhood side. Whenever you have a mid-sized to slightly larger market, it's a little bit easier to navigate. And a good example of this, if I swap over to neighborhoods, you'll notice that there's about 121 different neighborhoods that are here. But if I swapped over to maybe Los Angeles County as an example, you can see that there are so many more. And an example of this is there's 2,495 different neighborhoods or communities within Los Angeles, which is way different than the 121 that's inside of Knox County. And the reason that this is important is because you would use zip codes here because it's much easier to navigate 541 zip codes versus almost 2,500 different neighborhoods within Los Angeles. But the main thing here is it's giving you a complete rundown of your area, and that way you can actually find the top zip codes and the top neighborhoods in your area, and we can go inside of SIFMAP and sold property and actually validate a specific list or validate an area before we actually pull it in. The market's good, and that this specific list that we're actually pulling is also good. The other thing that I'll throw in here, this breaks down the monthly average of the investor transactions. The kind of magic number that I've seen here is 10 or more is usually that sweet spot. That does not mean that a market's not good because it doesn't have at least 10 here. This just means that you have to go deeper within that area to know the best zip codes or neighborhoods that are actually within it. So a good example of this that I always do is a county that's right next to Knox County that I also market in called Anderson. So whenever I hop into Anderson, you see that there's about 8 investor transactions right here. So whenever we do our marketing, in the last 6 months, these zip codes have had a good amount of density here. So we would just focus on maybe these top 4 or 5 right here, especially 37716, because there's been at least 23 investor transactions that have actually occurred here. And just to really show you before we hop into sold properties the power of the Market Finder, I'm going to actually show you guys the top performing neighborhood by investor transaction volume inside of Knoxville, and we'll validate the best performing list within that actual area here in a few seconds inside of the sold properties tab. So as you can see, I'm inside the neighborhoods tab now, and we have the Colonial Village, Knoxville, Tennessee as the top area, so which in the last 6 months here, there's been over 24 investor transactions that have actually happened. And if I zoom in, it is this tiny pocket right here. And if I actually remove the comparison, this tiny little pocket, basically a couple neighborhoods here or communities, if you will, this is the top performing area within here. And we want to actually pull a list and validate through sold properties which lists are the best performing ones and what types of buy box actually perform well. Hey, real quick, if you're liking this kind of content and you're just trying to get more consistent deal flow, in the description below we have something called the 5-Day Deal Flow Challenge. It is 15 hours of live content that just goes over every single part of the business that you actually need to know to get more consistent deals. And it always happens at the beginning of every single month, and it's also recorded in case you join late. And it's where we go over every part of the entire real estate business. It's from market analysis to data to marketing to sales, KPIs, operations, scaling, and just everything that you need to know to get consistent deal flow. And that at this point, we've had hundreds of people go through it. And it's the best strategies that we've seen from our over 5,000 person community and also from our own business. And literally within a week after going through the challenge, we've had people close deals from the strategies that they actually learned on this challenge. And it's only $27. There's absolutely no pressure at all. And it's down below in the description.